ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, verse 52. When the queen saw her husband, King Citraketu, merged in great lamentation and saw the dead child, who was the only son in the family, she lamented in various ways. This increased the pain in the cores of the hearts of all the inhabitants of the palace, the ministers and all the brahmanas. So obviously the queen was Kritadyuti, so she was very much affected. So she merged in great lamentation. And then she lamented in various ways. The garland of flowers decorating the queen's head fell and her hair scattered. Falling tears melted the collyrium on her eyes and moistened her breasts, which were covered with kumkuma powder. As she lamented the loss of her son, her loud crying resembled the sweet sound of a kudari bird. Alas, O Providence, O Creator, you are certainly inexperienced in creation. But during the lifetime of her father, you have caused the death of his son, thus acting in opposition to your creative laws. If you are determined to contradict these laws, you are certainly the enemy of living entities and are never merciful. So this is what most people, when they go through difficulty, this is what their thought process is, that you are certainly an enemy, there is no God, etc., etc. This is the way a conditioned soul condemns the Supreme Creator when he meets reverses. Sometimes he accuses the Supreme Lord of being crooked, because some people are happy and some are not. Here the queen blames Supreme Providence for her son's death. Following the creative laws, a father should die first and then his son. The creative laws are changed according to the whims of Providence, then Providence should not be considered merciful, but must be considered inimical to the created being. Actually, it is not the creator, but the conditioned soul who is inexperienced. He does not know how the subtle laws of fruitive activity work, and without knowledge of these laws of nature, he ignorantly criticizes the Supreme Person of God. So he does not know the subtle laws of nature work and ends up doing wrong things, thereby having to suffer. So without knowledge of these laws, one ignorantly criticizes the Supreme Lord. So I also did this. I came to Krishna consciousness, and after about 2 years of Krishna consciousness, I had TB, tuberculosis. So then I blamed the Supreme Lord, saying that, even though I did so much of service, I've been doing so much of service, why did you do this to me? So this is very natural. Unless one is in knowledge about the laws of karma and our own responsibility in the affair, in the matter, we will blame the Supreme Lord. So we should become mature enough to understand, saying that we have to take responsibility of the situation. If something not good is happening in our life, then we should take responsibility, saying that we did this in the past and so we are suffering. And it's only the Supreme Lord's mercy that we are somehow managing. He's reduced the difficulty like that. So not the other way around. So this is a ignorant person criticizes. A person in knowledge praises the Lord, because it's his mercy that the person is having to only suffer less. My lord, you may say that there is no law that a father must die in the lifetime of his son, and that a son must be born in the lifetime of his father, since everyone lives and dies according to his own fruitive activity. So now she's little bit talking about tattva. However, if fruitive activity is so strong that birth and death depend upon it, there's no need of a controller or god. So this is karma mimamsa, that karma is all supreme. Again, if you say that a controller is needed because the material energy does not have the power to act, one may answer that if the bonds of affection you have created are disturbed by fruitive action, no one will raise children with affection. So this is flawed logic. And if the bonds of affection are disturbed by fruitive action, yes, if bad fruitive action is done, papa is done, then the bonds of affection will be affected. That doesn't mean that one should not raise children at all. So children with affection at all. So it's a completely flawed logic because of her emotions. Instead, everyone will cruelly neglect his children. Since you have cut the bonds of affection that compel a parent to raise his child, you appear inexperienced and unintelligent. So it's completely wrong. So we should understand that whatever is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not that we have to just take this as truth. No, because it depends on who's speaking. So here, Krutadyuti is in lamentation, is in ignorance, she's bereft of knowledge, and she's saying something which is not factual. Many places like this in Bhagavatam, like Hiranyakashipu, prayers, there are so many places where it's not the fact, it's not the tattva. As said in the Brahma Samhita, karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. So Prabhupada is explaining. One who has taken to Krishna consciousness, devotional service, is not affected by the results of karma. Actually, Prabhupada just says one who has taken to Krishna consciousness. But actually, our understanding is that one who has surrendered to Krishna by way of taking initiation, then all the results of his past karma are destroyed. But Prabhupada is saying here is that, so it possibly depends on the faith, surrender, etc. In this verse, karma has been stressed on the basis of karma mimamsa, which says that one must act according to his karma and that a supreme controller must give the results of karma. The subtle laws of karma, which are controlled by the supreme, cannot be understood by ordinary conditioned souls. Therefore, Krishna says that one who can understand him and how he is acting, controlling everything by subtle laws, immediately becomes freed by his grace. One should take to devotional service without reservations and surrender everything to the supreme will of the Lord. That will make one happy in this life and next. So this is the complete understanding. One has to take to devotional service and without reservation, without any reservations, and surrender everything to the supreme will, then that will make one happy. So bhakti means like fully surrendering to the supreme Lord, taking it without reservations. Okay. My dear son, now she is directly talking to her son. My dear son, I'm helpless and very much aggrieved. You should not give up my company. Just look at your lamenting father. We are helpless because without a son we shall have to suffer the distress of going to the darkest hellish regions. You are the only hope by which we can get out of these dark regions. Therefore, I request you not to go any further with the merciless Yama. According to the Vedic injunctions, one must accept a wife just to beget a son who can deliver one from the clutches of Yamaraj. Unless one has a son to offer oblations to Pitas, forefathers, one must suffer in Yamaraja's kingdom. King Citraketu was very much aggrieved, thinking that because his son was going away with Yamaraj, he himself would again suffer. The subtle laws exist for the karmis. If one becomes a devotee, he has no more obligations to the laws of karma. Again, Prabhupada is highlighting that if one becomes a devotee, then we don't have to worry about all this. Again, it's not part-time devotion, it's not mixed devotion, it's pure devotion, fully surrendering to Krishna. My dear son, you slept a long time. Now please get up. Your playmates are calling you to play. Since you must be very hungry, please get up and suck my breast and dissipate our lamentation. So she's completely bewildered. My dear son, I'm certainly most unfortunate. For I can no longer see your mild smiling. You have closed your eyes forever. I therefore conclude that you have been taken from this planet to another, from which you will not return. My dear son, I can no longer hear your pleasing voice. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued. Accompanied by his wife, who was thus lamenting for her dead son, King Citraketu began crying loudly with an open mouth, being greatly aggrieved. You can imagine, just very pitiable condition. As the king and queen lamented, all their male and female followers joined them in crying. Because of the sudden accident, all the citizens of the kingdom were almost unconscious. So much attachment. When the great sage Angira understood that the king was almost dead in the ocean of lamentation, he went there with Narada Rishi. So Angira Muni was so powerful that he could understand that the king was almost dead in an ocean of lamentation. So he went there to help. Okay, now this conversation, following conversation, will help those who wonder, saying that, when somebody is in deep distress, what should be done? So we should learn from Shastra. So both of them come. Shukadeva Goswami said, while King Chitraketu, overcome by lamentation, lay like a dead body at the side of the dead body of his son, the two great sages Narada and Angira instructed him about spiritual consciousness as follows. So please note, these rishis did not come and do some material, they didn't pacify him materially. So, Koyam Syattava Rajendra Bhavan Yam Manushochati Tvam Chasya Katama Shrushtau Puredanim Ataparam. O king, what relationship does the dead body for which you lament have with you? And what relationship do you have with him? You may say that you are now related as father and son, but do you think this relationship existed before? Does it truly exist now? Will it continue in the future? The instructions given by Narada and Angira are the true spiritual instructions for the illusioned conditioned soul. This world is temporary, but because of our previous karma, we come here and accept bodies, creating temporary relationships in terms of society, friendship, love, nationality, and community, which are all finished at death. These temporary relationships did not exist in the past, nor will they exist in the future. Therefore, at the present moment, the so-called relationships are illusions. Very heavy. All so-called relationships are illusions. If we look at them from the bodily platform, then they're all illusions because they didn't exist in the past and they will not exist in the future. But still, we lament. Still, we are affected by all these kinds of things, right? Yata prayanti samyanti shroto vegena balukaha samyujjante viyujjante tatha kalena dehinaha. O king, as small particles of sand sometimes come together and sometimes separate, and sometimes separated due to the force of the waves. The living entities who have accepted material bodies sometimes come together and are sometimes separated by the force of time. The misunderstanding of the conditioned soul is the bodily conception of life. The body is material, but within the body is the soul. This is the spiritual understanding. Unfortunately, one who is in ignorance under the spell of material illusion accepts the body to be itself. He cannot understand that the body is matter. Like small particles of sand, bodies come together and are separated by the force of time. And people falsely lament for unification and separation. Unless one knows this, there's no question of happiness. See, happiness will come only when we understand this. Which means that when we understand this, that everything here is temporary, and because it is temporary, it is illusory. I don't have to get affected by anything. Till we come to this stage, there will be something or the other for us to suffer. in this material world, because this material world is a place of misery. So whenever we are faced with misery, we have to remember the basic knowledge. I am not this body, I am spirit, soul, and everything connected with this body is temporary and illusory. This is the first instruction given by the Lord. Denosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tatha de antara praptirthirastatranamuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. We are not the body, we are spiritual beings trapped in the body. So this is also a nice way of putting it. Not that we are not the body, we are spirit soul. No. We are spiritual beings trapped in the body. Our real interest lies in understanding this simple fact. Then we can make further spiritual progress. See, if we can't accept this simple fact, we cannot make spiritual progress. Which is why, Srila Prabhupada used to repeatedly in his lectures, if you see, he's speaking the same thing again and again and again and again. And when asked, he used to say that because even after hearing it 1,000 times, you don't remember. You don't remember, so I'm telling it again and again so that it registers, paraphrasing. Otherwise, if we remain in bodily conception of life, our miserable material existence will continue forever. So our material existence is miserable just because of this bodily conception, thinking of ourselves as the body, and that everything connected with the body is mine or is important, etc. Political adjustments, social welfare work, medical assistance, and other programs we have manufactured for peace and happiness will never endure. We shall have to undergo the sufferings of material life one after another. Therefore, material life is said to be Dukhalaya Shashvatam. It is a reservoir of miserable conditions. So, ISKCON is not supposed to do some general welfare work. We should not get into all this. Prabhupada, anyway, somebody asked saying that, hospitals and all that. He said, Red Cross is there for that. Other organizations are there to take care of bodily needs. Let them take care. Why should we do their work? There is nobody to do our work, he said. Our work is to give spiritual knowledge. Bring people to devotion. That is our work. But doing welfare work, etc., that is not our work. Like mundane welfare work. Prabhupada said the supreme, the best welfare work is to bring the suffering souls to Krishna. That is the best welfare work, nothing else. Yatha dhana suvaidhana bhavanti na bhavanti cha evam bhutani bhuteshu choditani shamayaya. When seeds are sown in the ground, they sometimes grow into plants and sometimes do not. Sometimes the ground is not fertile and the sowing of seeds is unproductive. Similarly, sometimes a prospective father, being impelled by the potency of the Supreme Lord, can beget a child, but sometimes conception does not take place. Therefore, one should not lament over the artificial relationship of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord. Citraketu was actually not destined to get a son. This is the important thing. Therefore, although he married hundreds and thousands of wives, all of them proved barren and he could not beget even one child. See, look at this. This is very important to understand how much we should endeavor for things. And generally, when we try enough and he married millions of wives to get a child. After that, he should have understood saying that this is not going to happen. He didn't have to marry millions of wives for that. Even after 2, 3, 4, 5 wives, it would have been enough for him to understand saying that I'm not going to get any children. So why simply bother? But this is the problem in material life, is that we keep on trying endlessly. It's not that we should not try, but we should try, but with a clear understanding of how karma works. So if something, of course, for Krishna conscious activities, we should go all out. But material, we should understand saying that, whatever we are supposed to get, we got or we will get easily. we don't have to put so much effort. And Prabhupada's writes elsewhere also saying that if you get something also after extreme putting too much of effort, atiha, prayasa, too much of endeavor, then it will all be lost. It will be lost also. But we don't know, right? Now, in today's world, we keep struggling, trying hard. We got something. We're happy that we got, but we don't realize that after some time it is gone. We don't realize that. Meaning that what we lost was a result of that of what we got, which was not ours. We lost, but we can't make this connection. So we keep on trying. We keep on trying. But a person who understands the subtle laws of karma, he knows that if something he has to get materially, he will get very easily, generally, with minimum effort. If we are not getting something with minimal effort, that means we are not destined to get it. But it's very difficult to understand, digest this fact. And what happens? Shrama eva hi kevalam. We end up doing so much of work, also externally achieve something, which we can then say that, see, I tried so much and I achieved this. But we will also lose it in course of time, which we will not recognize. So materially, we should not get too much engrossed. Anything which has to come, because it is law of karma, it will come. Mostly it will come easily only. When Angira came to see the king requested the great sage to enable him to have at least one son. Because of the blessing of Angira Rishi, a child was sent by the grace of Maya, but the child was not to live for long. Therefore, in the beginning, Angira Rishi told the king that he would beget a child who would cause jubilation and lamentation. King Citraketu was not destined to get a child by providence or the will of the Supreme. Just as sterile grain cannot produce more grain, a sterile person by the will of the Supreme Lord cannot beget a child. Sometimes a child is born even to an impotent father and sterile mother. And sometimes a potent father and fertile mother are childless. Indeed, sometimes a child is born despite contraceptive methods. And therefore the parents kill the child in the womb. In the present age, killing children in the womb has become a common practice. Why? When contraceptive methods are taken, why don't they act? Why is a child sometimes produced so that the father and mother have to kill it in the womb? We must conclude that our arrangement of so-called scientific knowledge cannot determine what will take place. What is enacted actually depends on the supreme will. See, this Prabhupada is now, is just beyond our understanding. Saying whatever, even if you use, so-called scientific ways of protecting yourself, etc., whatever has to happen will happen. It is by the supreme will that we are situated in certain conditions in terms of family, community, and personality. These are all arrangements of the Supreme Lord according to our desires under the spell of Maya. In devotional life, therefore, one should not desire anything, since everything depends on the Supreme Lord. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. One should act only to develop Krishna consciousness. For everything else, one should fully depend upon the Supreme Person. We should not create plans that will ultimately make us frustrated. So it's clear, I think. So should not generally unnecessarily endeavor. Everything is happening as per karma. Even if we get something which we are not destined to get, we will lose it in course of time. Simple. So don't overly endeavor materially. That's the sum and substance here. Prabhupada says if you only act to develop Krishna consciousness. O King, both you and we, your advisors, wives and ministers, as well as everything moving and not moving throughout the entire cosmos at this time are in a temporary situation. Before our birth, this situation did not exist. After our death, it will exist no longer. Therefore, our situation now is temporary, although it is not false. This Prabhupada is adding. The Mayavadi philosophers say Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman, the living being, is factual, but his present bodily situation is false. According to Vaishnava philosophy, however, the present situation is not false but temporary. It is like a dream. A dream does not exist before one falls asleep, nor does it continue after one awakens. The period of dreaming exists only between these two, and therefore it is false in the sense that it is impermanent, meaning as soon as we get up, whatever was happening in the dream is all false. So the dream is false. So similarly, when we are in this material world, till we wake up to the fact that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, everything seems real. But once we come to this understanding that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, then everything happening in connection with the body, which itself is temporary, is also temporary. So all of that is false. So it's like a dream. We have to wake up from this material dream. Similarly, the entire material creation, including our own creation, those of others, is impermanent. We do not lament for the situation in a dream before the dream takes place or after it is over. And so during the dream or during a dream-like situation, one should not accept it as factual and lament about it. See, such amazing logic. Before the dream, we are not lamenting about the dream because we don't know about the dream. After the dream is over, we don't lament because we realize it is not true. So why should we lament during the dream? Person is knowledge. So this is real knowledge. A person in knowledge does not lament when he's going through the dream. Meaning, when we are going through temporary material existence, we should not lament. We should not take it as factual. Actually, all these so-called sufferings in our material life is just to wake us up to the real knowledge. And once we wake up, then we are clear saying that, okay, then there's no suffering at all because I'm not this body. But it's very, very difficult to understand this. Actually, this simple fact we can't understand. We can't live on this platform that we are not this body. Because from time immemorial, we are just thinking, we are just living in this bodily conception, thinking I'm the body. So we see our material life as real in the sense that it is, yeah, okay, everything, yeah, I'm touching and feeling things around me. It seems real. It's real, but it's temporary and hence unreal. It's like in a dream. Just we should remember this comparison. Our material life is like a dream. Prabhupada writes in the first canto, first chapter, first verse. Material life can be likened to a dream. So just remember, if you are lamenting about anything in this material life, just remember, oh, it's just a dream. As soon as I wake up, it's gone. And that waking up is waking up to the spiritual consciousness, coming to the understanding that I am not the body, I'm spirit soul. Then that even if there is some dream, we're not affected by the dream. Meaning even if there is some suffering, we don't get affected by it. See, heavy instructions for a suffering person. The Supreme Person who got it, the master and proprietor of everything, is certainly not interested in the temporary cosmic manifestation. Not interested. What is the word? Bhagavad Gita, it says Udasinavad. Nonetheless, just as a boy at the beach creates something in which he is not interested, the Lord, keeping everything under his control, causes creation, maintenance, and annihilation. He creates by engaging a father to beget a son. He maintains it by engaging a government or king to see to the public's welfare. And he annihilates through agents for killing, such as snakes. The agents for creation, maintenance, and annihilation have no independent potency. But because of the spell of the illusory energy, one thinks himself the creator, maintainer, and annihilator. No one can independently create and maintain or annihilate. Bhagavad Gita says, Prakrite kriyamani gunai karmani sarvashah ankara vimodhatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes, thinks himself the doer, that are in actuality carried out by nature. Prakriti, material nature, as directed by the Supreme Lord, induces all living entities to create, maintain, or annihilate according to the modes of nature. But the living entity, without knowledge of the Supreme Person and his agent, the material energy, thinks that he is the doer. Kartaham iti manyate. In fact, he is not at all the doer. As an agent of the Supreme Doer, the Supreme Lord, one should abide by the Lord's orders. We're just an agent. So we should just abide by his orders. The present chaotic conditions of the world are due to the ignorance of the leaders who forget that they have been appointed to act by the Supreme Person. You've got it. Because they've been appointed by the Lord, their duty is to consult the Lord and act accordingly. The book for consultation is Bhagavad Gita, in which Supreme Lord gives directions. Therefore, those who are engaged in creation, maintenance, annihilation should consult the Supreme Person who has appointed them and should act accordingly. Then everyone will be satisfied and there will be no disturbances. Okay, pretty clear. So we're not the doers. We have to, because we're agents, we should abide by the Lord's orders. And this is what leaders need to do. And the instructions are there in Bhagavad Gita. As from one seed, another seed is generated, O king. So from one body, the body of the father, through another body, the body of the mother, a third body is generated, the body of a son. As the elements of the material body are eternal, the living entity who appears through these material elements is also eternal. The elements of the material body are eternal, but the material body is not eternal. Similarly, the living entity is also eternal. From Bhagavad Gita, we understand that there are two energies, superior and inferior. Inferior consists of the 5 gross and 3 subtle material elements. Living entity, who represents the superior energy, appears in different types of body through these elements by the manipulation or supervision of the material energy. Actually, both the material and spiritual energies exist eternally as potencies of the Supreme Lord. The potent entity is Supreme Person. He is the potent entity, he has potencies, and all potencies, whether material or spiritual, are eternal. Since the spiritual energy, the living being who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, desires to enjoy this material world, the Lord gives him a chance to accept different types of material bodies and enjoy or suffer in different material conditions. So the reason we've been given this opportunity is because we desire to enjoy this material world. Factually, the spiritual energy, the living entity who desires to enjoy material things, is manipulated by the Supreme Lord, meaning everything is under his control. The so-called father and mother have nothing to do with the living entity. As a result of his own choice and karma, the living being takes different bodies through the agency of so-called fathers and mothers. The so-called father and mother, they don't have anything to do with this. This is a result of his own choice and karma that the living being is taking to different bodies. Of course, I mean, the father and mother also have some karma associated. But it's all just karmas. And it's not that based on the karma, specific living entity will take birth for exchange of karma. But directly, the father and mother, they don't have anything to do with the living entity. Meaning that father and mother in this birth have nothing to do with that living entity. It's the jiva, atmas who are there in the bodies of the father and mother who have some karma to exchange with the jiva, new jiva that has appeared as their son or daughter. Divisions of generalization and specification, vibhagaha, such as nationality and individuality, are the imaginations of persons who are not advanced in knowledge. Because the individual soul has desired to act in forgetfulness of his original identity since time immemorial, he is accepting different positions in material bodies and being designated according to many divisions of nationality, community, society, species, and so on. So it's just because we've forgotten our real identity since time immemorial. That is why we're called Nitya Baddha. We're just taking bodies one after the other, and then based on the body, then we get designated, we get some position, etc. Okay. Sri Shukadev Goswami continued, thus enlightened by the instructions of Narda and Angira, Citraketu became hopeful with knowledge. Wiping his shriveled face with his hand, the king began to speak. Okay, so we'll stop here. So King Citraketu was intelligent enough because he was a devotee. He was just temporarily put into illusion. So he became hopeful with knowledge. So he got the knowledge and he understood, and he was very disappointed, hopeless. Now he became hopeful, knowing that I'm not this body and spirit soul, and that all these things are temporary. Okay. Any questions, comments? Nothing? All okay?